Just imagine 900 days, no water, no working toilets, and the BC NDP's response: porta-potties and press releases. This is The Hard Truth Canada, where we expose what this government really wants you to forget. But before we jump in, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe. Let's get this message out. The people of BC deserve better.
Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Over 900 days ago, water and sewage services failed at the Lakeview Trailer Court outside of Fraser Lake in my riding. This property is owned and managed by the provincial government. Over 900 days of no running water, no flushing toilets, no showers, no ability to do laundry, or any other basics that most people take for granted. Does the minister responsible for lands think this is acceptable? And when will this government get off its backside and fix it?
Minister of Lands.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you so much for the question. I understand that this is in your riding, and this is an issue that we are working hard to fix. Everybody deserves a safe and secure place to call home. And the province doesn't want to be a landlord in this case, but because when the owner left without helping, we stepped in to help. So we are working to get this work done this summer. There's a small window, and we're going to ensure that all of the residents have a safe and secure place to call home.
Leader of the Official Opposition Supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank the Minister for that answer. Unfortunately, it's the same answer the residents have received the year before and the year before that. They're working on it, promise it should get done over the course of the summer. In the meantime, what we're seeing is bottled water and porta-potties being provided for the residents in that neighbourhood, on those trailers. And the good folks, quite frankly, have no other choice. There is no other housing available. I doubt the minister has ever used the porta-potty in minus 30-degree temperature, and I can tell you something I have, and it's not a pleasant experience. Can the minister today commit that this will be resolved this summer, not just another promise to do this? And can I go back to telling my constituents that the porta-potty solution will finally get flushed?
Minister of Water and Land.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. And again, thank you. I appreciate you asking if I've ever used a porta-potty in minus 30-degree weather. You know what? We can talk about it in the hallway, but it was interesting. It was an interesting experience. I understand the frustration, and I absolutely do not blame them at all. I worked for a while in helping tenants in that way, and it is a stressful and tough experience. When I was a journalist, I did a lot of stories on bad landlords not doing the jobs or not fulfilling the responsibility that they needed to fulfill for their tenants. So we're doing everything we can as a long-term solution. We're continuing to explore options to replace the water and sewer infrastructure that was poorly maintained in the past by the owner. In the interim, we are doing everything we can to make sure residents are safe. We've halted pad fees for residents. We are supplying clean drinking water for them, and we understand the window for helping these tenants is small because we've got to get the construction cracking soon, and we are actively working on that, and we'll have an answer for them very soon, and we'll share it with you as well.
Residents in the Lakeview Trailer Park near Fraser Lake have gone nearly 3 years without running water or sewage. That means no showers, no toilets, and definitely no laundry. This property is owned now by the BC government, but what's their solution? Bottled water and porta-potties for over 900 days. And when called out, the Minister of Lands laughs about her porta-potty experience. Let's be honest, she's never used one. Ever. Never mind being at minus 30. Try doing that every day in the winter and tell us if it's an interesting experience. Would this happen downtown Vancouver? Not a chance. But for rural folks, they get excuses. Meanwhile, David Eby is being called out, double standards, commenting on court cases when it benefits him and hiding behind legal excuses when it doesn't. The question was simple. If the Premier can weigh in on some legal cases, why not others?
Garrett Cole Sidawi is appearing today at the Penticton Law Courts facing charges of 2 counts of assault, mischief, endangering life, flight from police, driving with a suspended license. Will the Attorney General stand in her place and condemn these vile actions?
Members, we have discussed this topic before. Shh. Members, Chair is not guided by anybody who's making comments. I'm just reminding the House what we have already dealt with these issues, but the Attorney General has the prerogative, wants to answer. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. I think the member would know as a lawyer that something that's before the court right now is something we should not be commenting on, especially something that's before the court today. So I won't be offering a comment on that.
Members, enough. Member, you have a new question?
That's very interesting, Mr. Speaker. Here we have a government saying they cannot comment on a case that's currently being investigated and before the courts. At the same time, this Premier has no problem commenting on a major case investigation and a case that will be before the courts. To the Attorney General, will the government make up its mind and decide if they are going to follow their own rules?
Member, the chair has already provided guidance on sub judice before, and now if, again, I caution members to be careful. Again, your prerogative, Attorney General, if you want to answer, please proceed. Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We on this side have every confidence in our justice system to investigate, to lay the charges for the BC Crown Prosecution Service to do their independent work, and the justice system and the judiciary to act in an independent fashion, and we'll keep on upholding that system. Thank you.
Then we have Clean BC, the same climate plan that the NDP paraded like a miracle. 7 years later, they admitted it. 7 years later, they admitted it's a fail. Their solution? Another review. No actions, no results, just reviews. They've reviewed everything lately, from the 911 system, the Mental Health Act, BC housing, even a South Asian Heritage Museum they promised 5 years ago, still under review. And now what? They got an ex-health and energy minister reviewing each other's disasters? Come on.
Speaker, here's the problem. This government did not campaign on perpetual reviews. This government campaigned after 7 years in government saying they still had all the answers moving forward. In fact, when it comes to their climate targets, here's what the then Minister of Energy said during an October 7th debate that I was a part of. When I said they weren't going to meet their targets in 2030, she said, "There's no doubt we have to do everything we possibly can to reach the targets that we have," and that's exactly what our government has been focused on all the time, Mr. Speaker, except they've now admitted they're never going to meet their targets. In fact, let's look at the reviews they have. South Asian Canadian Heritage Museum, well, that's under review, further review. Ministry spending is under review. Didn't campaign on that. ECOM's 911 review. BC Timber Sales under review, Mental Health Act review, Provincial Health Services Authority review, and now a Clean BC review. And Mr. Speaker, those last few reviews, we have the former Minister of Health who destroyed our health system now reviewing energy projects. Question for the Premier. Instead of manufacturing so many confidence votes over the next few weeks, why doesn't the Premier just save everyone a little bit of time and the gamesmanship, go and visit the Lieutenant Governor today, and let the voters of BC give the Premier a review of his failed leadership?
The opposition said it best. Maybe it's time for a public review of David Eby himself. Let the people judge his record on housing, crime, and the collapsing trust we find in BC. This government didn't campaign on reviews, they campaigned on promises, and now they're promising excuses. Here's a wild one. A BC ostrich farm says it discovered antibodies development that could fight bird flu and even maybe would have helped COVID-19. Instead of embracing the research, the federal government, through the CFIA, moved to cull all 400 ostriches. Healthy birds, no outbreak, just threats to the status quo. The call was ordered after the farm publicly said they have a possible cure.
Today, I'm advocating for Universal Ostrich Farm about an issue that's international, national, provincial, and can even affect my own region or my own farm, and cross over to all different types of animal species. This isn't a particular farm. It isn't just any regular farm. The farmstead in question is conducting cutting-edge research into antibody development that could help fight the avian flu and innovate solutions to treat viruses into the future. Yet despite having no infection currently and strong commitment protocols, the CFIA is moving to destroy their entire flock. Based off of outdated policies. My question, Mr. Speaker, is to the Premier or to the Minister of Agriculture. Will you commit to standing up for this farm and advocate to the federal government and the CFIA to consider a CFIA exemption or alternate options instead of blindly enforcing mass culls?
Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me start out by saying that avian influenza has become incredibly challenging for poultry and egg farmers in British Columbia, and my heart goes out to all farmers who have had impacts or outbreaks on their farms. Avian influenza, as the member knows, is a federally regulated disease, and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency is the lead on investigating and responding to this virus. Our government has been helping in the fight against avian flu by working directly with farmers, providing support for testing, mapping, and surveillance. We have a table that we've pulled together with all of the feather flocks in what we're calling the peace times as we prepare for the next very intensive threat of AI expected in September. I think it's important to remind this chamber that avian influenza is a highly, highly pathogenic virus. Mr. Speaker, it is deadly and it's dangerous. If it mutates into a widespread human illness, the impacts would be catastrophic, and that is why severe measures are taken when it spreads into domestic animals. That's the context for why the federal government, CFIA, is taking the steps they take.
Member supplemental.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I am here as a farmer myself. I've dedicated my life to being an ambassador to farming. there are different ways forward than doing these outdated mass culls. There are different types of farms, different types of industries, and different ways that we can approach how we treat this item. Animals are being culled in mass numbers all over North America. And we are not looking into major strategic ways going forward to deal with the fact of these viruses. Mr. Speaker, my question to the Premier or to the Minister of Agriculture: what steps are you going to take to save these 400 healthy, antibody-rich and H5N1 immune ostriches? And please indicate how the culling of 400 magnificent, healthy, irreplaceable dancing ostriches can be humanely killed.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 2022, avian influenza struck the BC poultry industry, devastating a really important part of our agriculture sector. In attempts to get it under control, CFIA had to depopulate millions of poultry birds because that is the only effective way that we have to stop it right now. It is very emotional for all farmers who have to go through this. I have sat with farmers in tears after their barns are depopulated. We are very concerned about the emotional toll that avian influenza is taking on our farmer community, and we make sure that they always know they can reach out if they need help. But it is extremely difficult on the farmers and their entire families. It also takes a financial toll. It has huge implications for food security, as we've seen in the United States. I want to acknowledge that the farmers that are visiting us in the House today are going through an incredibly difficult situation. I've committed to meeting with them after question period, Mr. Speaker, and their MLA from Kootenay-Monashee is also joining that meeting, and I've also invited the MLA from Peace River North to join. I have no problem sitting down with that farmer.
What do you think? Science gets ignored, innovation gets punished, and farmers get steamrolled. Welcome to the Hard Truth Canada. And finally, let's talk about BC's quiet war on the backcountry access. Instead of meaningful consultation, the ministry sent random survey to a few people. No notice, no media release, no transparency. Backcountry users like hunters, prospectors, and everyday families, such as mine, now getting cut off from public lands. The government says it's about protection, but it looks like more control.
Recently, the Ministry of Water, Land and Resource Stewardship sent out a half-baked survey monkey on land use to a handful of residents in the Columbia Valley and the Kootenays. No advance notice, no posting on a website, and no media release whatsoever. Residents are already alarmed at an increase in arbitrary backcountry closures without meaningful public consultation. Can the minister give an explanation to prospectors, hunters, and everyday backcountry users why their access is being cut off at an alarming rate?
Minister of Water and Land.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you so much for the question. Backcountry use is not being turned off at an alarming rate. In fact, not at all.
Members.
Speaking with so many of the backcountry, people who love the backcountry, our job as government is to get people to fall in love with nature. Because when you fall in love with nature, you want to protect it and help it. And that is what we're doing. The survey was intended to understand where folks use the backcountry, how they use it, and what their values and priorities are. I know it did cause a bit of alarm, and I don't disagree with you that perhaps we could have done a bit better communicating what our intentions were in the survey, but the very last thing we're going to do is turn the backcountry off from folks who love to use it.
Member for Delta South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In my town of Ladner, the Willows complex has been a red door housing and BC housing disaster, only built in the 1980s. Mr. Speaker, in January, tenants of the Ladner Willows complex building asked us for help. Their homes were set up for demolition and they needed BC housing to explain how.
They're locking out the very people who know and love the land best. You don't protect nature by banning access. You protect it by working with people, not steamrolling them. From broken toilets to broken promises, this government is out of touch, out of ideas, and out of time. David Eby wants to review everything except himself. Maybe it's time we hand him one at the ballot box. Thanks for watching The Hard Truth Canada. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers this month. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share this video before the algorithm buries it. We'll see you on the next one.